All right, let me say this in plain English. We're going to talk about the filibuster, why it matters, what it's doing to you, what it's doing to America, because this gets overcomplicated on purpose. This filibuster thing, it's not some boring Senate rule. It's a brake pedal. This is a monumental opportunity to actually really fix America while Republicans have the chance. We've got the House, we've got the Senate, and we're about to see who talks a good game and who actually takes action. The filibuster exists so one side can't just grab the wheel and floor it every time they get a slim majority. It forces people to slow down, talk it out, and actually convince somebody else. But it's oftentimes used as a block, as a emergency brake. And right now what we're seeing is that Donald Trump was given this America First agenda whenever he was elected in 2024. We all wanted Donald Trump to come in and change things that he made promises for on the campaign trail. And typically he would be able to do that. But right now, this 60 vote threshold, which is what the Republicans are running into, and it's because there's a lot of rhino Republicans in there that, like I said, just talk a good talk and they don't want to take action. But this is the biggest obstacle blocking Donald Trump from, I don't know, voter ID, securing the border, putting America first, cleaning up these crime-ridden cities. That is the biggest problem right now. And this article from Town Hall even references it. We're seeing a replay of 2017, 2018, where Democrats just log jammed the America First agenda with impeachments, with trials, with debates, and this entire filibuster. Because you know as good as I do that if Democrats, I say if, when Democrats get back in power, they are going to nuke the filibuster. There will be 25 Supreme Court judges. They will absolutely run amok and destroy a lot of things that we like within the Constitution, probably the Second Amendment. So let's check this out. I've got a clip here from Donald Trump.
Well, that or knock out the filibuster. If you knocked out the filibuster, it would all go away. But we have a few people that wouldn't do that. It's crazy. Look, we should knock out the filibuster. And if you did that, we'd get voter ID. You'd have no mail-in voting. All things that make our elections dishonest. And you'd get a lot of other things having not even to do with voting. But Republicans should knock out the filibuster, and we should approve a lot of things. You wouldn't have January 30th looming because, you know, you have the 30th of January looming. You know that, right? And if we knocked out the filibuster, it would be just a simple approval. But you have some Republicans that they're unable to explain why. You know, if you ask them why, they're unable to explain it. They cannot win the debate. But they should knock out the filibuster. And
so it's Donald Trump laying it out. Get rid of the filibuster. You will get voter ID. You will get a continuing resolution, a clean continuing resolution, because the current budget is only approved until January 30th. So we've got about, 44 days until we're back to a government shutdown. Is that what you want to start off the new year, to start off the 2026 midterm races? A government shutdown? How long do you think that the Democrats will keep the government shut down this time? With the midterms leading into November, I have no doubt the Democrats keep the government shut down 4, 5, 6 months to really leverage the angst, the anger, and more importantly, the outrage against Donald Trump and the entire Republican Party. They will use that exactly the same way they did just this last government shutdown, and Democrats won some governor races and mayor's races. We got Zohran Mamdani in as a socialist mayor because the government was shut down. They used it as a rallying cry, but Trump brings it up. Get rid of the filibuster. I'd love to get your opinion on this. A simple majority, you don't need that 60 vote threshold, And now we've got someone out of Oklahoma, Senator Mark Wayne Mullen out of Oklahoma, has suddenly seen the writing on the wall. Listen to what he says here.
Going to have to nuke the filibuster in the Senate. The argument being that if Democrats ever win back, they're going to do it anyway. So if Democrats win the House, they end the Trump agenda, essentially, for the final 2 years of his presidency. So get everything you can get done, if you're not worried about politics, in the next 9 months, nuke the filibuster, enact the agenda.
Well, the president has said that. He's talking about it all the time, a nuke filibuster. Problem is we're still playing politics. It's an argument to be made. I kind of leaned on the side of, for a little bit of going, well, Will, should we really nuke the filibuster? Because once you do that, it is nuclear. It goes nuclear. It opens the door wide open. And I was like, why would we open the door wide open for the Democrats? But I was in a meeting with leadership just recently, in fact, last week, and I brought this point up, guys. Does anybody in this room believe that the Democrats aren't going to nuke the filibuster? And if they do, what they're going to do is they're going to go after all the courts. They're going to try to pack in the courts, not with 13, not with 11, but now they're saying 23. And you're going, okay.
23 Supreme Court justices is what the Democrats are going to do. The Democrats have told us what they're going to do. Why do Republicans not listen? And you know as well as I do, if the Democrats take the House or the Senate in the midterm elections, you can basically throw Donald Trump's agenda for his last 2 years of his presidency out the window. He will accomplish nothing. They will impeach him. They will absolutely throw a logjam in the way of the Republican Party and in front of what you and I voted for. Mark Wayne Mullen lays it out, senator from Oklahoma. He sees what's coming. I'm wondering why the Senate Majority Leader, John Thune, doesn't see this. Why Mike Johnson doesn't see this. Why Lindsey Graham doesn't see this. Why some of these other rhino Republicans that always talk a good talk leading into campaign season with their hands out begging for cash.
Okay, if we know they're going to pack the court, if we think they're going to make Washington, D.C. a state, Puerto Rico a state, maybe Guam a state, and that why wouldn't we just go ahead and do it anyways? Because we're not interested in the politics of it. We're interested in the policy of it. Why wouldn't we install good policy? The argument was then, well, but they will undo everything we did, to which I said back to him was like, okay, how do we know they will undo everything we did? Because if it's sound policy and they do undo everything we did and it put us in havoc, then maybe it'll backfire on them. Because if we believe they're going to do it, then why don't we just go ahead and get it done and do what the president's wanting us to do to put all this policy forward?
You heard there, they'll make a state out of Puerto Rico and Guam. Do you know what that means? That means they get electoral votes. That means they get more delegates. That means the Democrats are going to they're going to grow their own base. They're going to grow that. Not necessarily the right way either. Republicans, it's time to take a level of action. That is how I interpret this. This is what I see. Now, it might be right, it might be wrong, but that is my perspective on everything. And I really don't think I'm off by very much. This isn't about making the government work better. If it was, Washington would have figured that out a long time ago. This is about power, plain and simple. When you remove the rules that slow things down, the people already in charge get more control. And that's what's going to happen when the Democrats come back in office. And Republicans need to wake up. You don't wait until the barn's empty to lock the door. Once this thing is gone, it's gone. There's no do-over. If Republicans lose power in 2026, this won't be just about the filibuster. It'll be the moment people look back on and say, that's when the balance tipped. That's when Republicans had an opportunity to do what their policies, what their motto, what the Republican motto says, and they missed it. They avoided it because they didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings. Well, it's past the time for hurting people's feelings. I'm more worried about America as a whole, our sovereignty, than I am about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's feeling.
And so there was a conversation that's taking place that's saying, well, maybe we don't do all the filibusters, but we just do it when it comes to appropriations. Well, that's where the policy is made through appropriations anyways. I think that's a sound policy for us to have a serious conversation about, because we only have 3 years here. And the president is laser focused on setting a foundation for the golden age to be rushing in and set it up for whoever the next vice or the next president is going to be. Is it going to be JD? Who knows? I'd say right now JD's probably the front runner. But if you set the foundation, a solid foundation for somebody to build on, because you don't have to worry about a reelection, which is the advantage that the president has, then let.
The trouble is Republicans do not look 6 months ahead. They don't look a year ahead. They don't look 5 years ahead. They don't look 25 years ahead. They look basically to next week. That's the Republican Party policy. Let's see what's going on next week, and let's not offend anyone before next week rolls around. That's how the Republican Party works. Love to get your comments. Love to get your thoughts. I read all of the comments. Let me know which Republicans that you trust. Which ones do you think are rhinos? Which ones do you think need to be removed? Mitch McConnell, Rand Paul, John Thune. Those are some of the senators that are in place right now that are running as roadblockers for the Democrat Party and really subverting what you voted for. I'd love to get your opinion on this.
They've ended a lot of this temporary protective classifications for refugees or asylum seekers in the country. According to federal officials, more than 600,000 illegals have been removed from the country thus far. It's just a start, but it's not nothing. And just as importantly, the administration says more than 1.9 million have decided to leave on their own volition. So illegal border crossings, what about those? Well, they're effectively zero. That is what law enforcement looks like. And as for putting America's safety and well-being first, well, President Trump and his team at DHS and the White House, they have paid a price as well. Like the ICE agents, they've been doxxed, they've been threatened, and they've been dragged into court by lawsuits funded by left-wing NGOs, the Open Borders Lobby, and the cheap labor cartel that profits off mass illegal migration.
Right now, it doesn't matter how good of a job Tom Homan, Kristi Noem, and the ICE and Border Protection are doing, rounding up all the illegals. It doesn't matter. We're getting rid of some, but we can't get rid of all of them because we have some of these federal judges, these activist judges that are playing politics from the bench. We've seen it. We've yet to be able to get rid of the, quote, Maryland man, Kilmar Abrego Garcia. You nuke the filibuster. You don't allow Democrats to pack the courts. You start impeaching some of these activist judges. You make an example out of them. You start making the punishment more popular than the actual crime. And that's when America changes. When you start doing that, we're on our way back. And until Republicans realize that the time is running out very quickly and Democrats are trying to intentionally run out the clock, the old four corners offense in basketball, you get the lead by one and you just hold the ball. That's what's happening right now. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.